Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you are able to see me. I hope you're able to hear me. And we are live on the Mark Deeks music page. Thanks so much for being here. It's the first test of a scheduled live broadcast for me using something called Ecamm Live. If you want to use some software to go live on Facebook, then I recommend Ecamm Live. Check them out. I'll post a link in the comments below. And hopefully this will be a good advert for it. So, we've been doing lots of free piano tip videos on the page over the last few weeks. If you're watching this, don't forget to give the page a like. I hope these videos are useful to you. I'm trying to help as many people as possible to start getting into playing the piano, maybe ticking something off the bucket list that's been on their list for a while. Piano playing just seems to be one of these things that people want to do and never get round to, and so I'm on a mission to reduce the number of people in the world who say, I've always wanted to play the piano. Just do it. Crack on. I'm putting together a group of people who are interested in this kind of thing. If you're somebody who has always wanted to play the piano, perhaps you played when you were younger, and then you dropped out of it and life got in the way, or it's just something you've always wanted to do and you've never got round to, go to this link. Can you see it? markdeeksmusic.com/beginner. Drop your name and email there. I'll send you a free beginner lesson, and then I'll send you some information about how you could be part of a special group of people I'm putting together right now for a bit of an experiment. I'll tell you about it in more detail at the end of this video as well. That's a little tease to maybe get you to stick around at the end, until the end. Because one of the things that stops people from getting into piano playing is people say, oh, I want a piano. I haven't got a piano. I haven't got a keyboard. I don't know what I need. And people get intimidated by that whole thing, because when you're trying to buy something you've got no history with, you've got no experience of, it's really hard. You don't know what you're looking for. Do you need one of these? Do you need a keyboard? Where's it going to go? How many notes should it have? And all these kind of things. So I'm going to try and talk you through that process right now. Now, I'm going to look at this screen down here because I think I should be able to see if people are interacting, and it seems that people are, so that's good, I think. Apparently there will be comments. Someone write a comment on this video right now. I want to see if it appears in the screen, because it should do. But I can see someone's giving a thumbs up, and that's good, and someone's giving a love heart, so that's good as well. So fingers crossed we get through this video without too much drama, but it seems to be going all right so far. So the first thing first. How to buy a piano or keyboard? First question. I've got these little things ready. You ready? Boom. How many keys do you need? Well, do you need one that's big as this, or do you need a little one? So there are... Oh, I heard my voice in the background. Perhaps I should turn that off. Ha! I would think I was on Facebook at the same time as doing the video. Crazy. Technology. Try again. How many keys do we need? Well, it's like this. There are usually 3 different sizes of keyboards. This is regardless of whether we're talking about keyboards or pianos. 2 are really common. Then there's like a middle one that you don't see very often, and there's like an either-or situation there. So let's deal with the 2 that are the most common first of all. So first most common, if you hear musicians or piano players refer to a full-size keyboard, that's one of these. You can't see all the notes in that camera shot, but there are 88 keys on a full-size piano, full-size keyboard of any kind, 88 keys. If you think back to when maybe you were at school and you had those little keyboards that used to sit on the desks maybe in the music room, they have 61 keys. You'll sometimes hear people refer to them as 5-octave keyboards. Don't worry about that if you don't know what that means, but 61 keys. Kind of like here to here. Can you see? Some of it. Doesn't matter. 61 keys. Full size, 88. Some manufacturers of keyboards will make 73 note keys. It used to be occasionally 76. They're not very common. Most common, 61 or 88. So the question says, how many keys do you need? Answer? There isn't really a right answer to this. I would say as many as you've got room for. And the difference between a 61 note keyboard or piano and an 88 one, it's not a huge difference. Like 1.5 foot maybe? No more than that. So if you've got the room and you want to learn, see if you can find something that's got 88 notes. But if you haven't, 61 will do. Okay? 61 will do. At least until you find out if it's something you're going to be doing perhaps for a bit longer. Don't spend a fortune on a 61 note keyboard. I think that would be a not great thing to do. Don't spend a fortune on a 61 note keyboard. We'll come on to how much you should spend in a minute. But 61 or 88, they're the most common. And I would advise you, get as many as you've got room for. So that's the first question. Next one. Next. What are weighted keys? So you'll hear musicians, piano players talk about weighted keys or hammer action. This kind of thing just basically is referring to when piano players are talking about the action of a piano or a keyboard. It's like how heavy the keys are, how hard you have to press them to get a sound out of them. Now, this brings us on to something which is totally crucial. Like, this is the most important thing you should look for when you're buying a piano or a keyboard if you really want to do this properly. And that's not saying like if you want to be a concert pianist. I'm not bothered about if you don't want to do that. If you want to play piano or keyboard and not be kind of hampering yourself before you started, you need touch sensitive keys. All right? Touch sensitive keys. Weighted keys. What that means is the harder you press the keys, the louder it gets. Magic. Now, if you have a really basic, very cheap beginner keyboard, the kind of things you might see in Mothercare, Fisher Price keyboard, they won't be touch sensitive sometimes. And that's a nightmare if you really want to have a good technique from the beginning, because it kind of allows you to get away with pressing things badly. Pressing things badly, that's not a great sentence. It kind of covers up some of your mistakes, because if you only like just catch a key, it'll still make the proper sound. And that means that your technique never really develops properly, because on a real keyboard, a real piano, like one with touch sensitive keys or hammer action or weighted keys, what should happen is the louder you hit the keys, the harder you hit the keys, the louder the sound. That's why a piano has its name. Piano forte is its real name, which means in Italian, soft, loud. Piano means soft, quiet. Forte means loud. So the full name of a piano is a quiet, loud. Why? Because the harder you hit the keys, the louder they get. And before that, keyboard instruments like a harpsichord, that wasn't the case. It's to do with how the strings are, well, on a piano they're hit, and in a harpsichord they're plucked. Don't worry about this, too much history. So you want, if you're going to buy a piano or a keyboard and you want to learn, even if it's just for a little bit, try and get something that has weighted keys. They'll say weighted keys or touch sensitive. They might talk about hammer action. Anything that mentions semi-weighted or hammer action, they're fine. You just don't want something that doesn't have touch sensitive. And almost all keyboards will have touch sensitive keys or weighted keys. But the very, very, very cheap ones that are designed for, children of a very young age, they might not. So just be careful about that. You want weighted keys, or your technique is off to a bad start. Even if you think, I just want to dabble, see how I get on. If you just want to dabble and see how you get on, you want touch sensitive keys. All right? Next question. How are we doing? Are people watching? Well, yeah, there's people watching. I haven't seen any comments, but perhaps I just don't know where the comments are. Which is entirely possible. Could be anywhere. I'll see them later. Next question. Acoustic versus electric. Okay, this is a really common question. People say, well, do I get an acoustic piano? Do I need a real one? Or do I buy an electric keyboard? Well, there isn't a real answer to this, a right answer to this. And where you stand on this question will be affected by lots of other things. Budget, space, whether you can be hassled to get one of these in your house. So here are the things that you might want to weigh up. Acoustic versus electric, as I say, goes into how much gear you want, how much space you want, mobility, and so on. So here are the pros and cons. An acoustic piano, to many piano players, will sound, let's go for better. But it needs looking after more in many ways. So an acoustic piano is going to go out of tune, even if you don't touch it, particularly if you don't touch it. If you leave an acoustic piano sat there for ages, it's going to go out of tune. And when people talk about tuning a piano, just think of it like a car service, right? Your car needs servicing regularly so that it doesn't go into state disrepair, right? It keeps things well oiled, keeps things ticking over, all the mechanisms are working inside. There's a lot of mechanisms in a piano. So an acoustic piano, to many piano players, will sound better, but it needs more maintenance. Electric piano, barring some kind of electrical mishap, if you don't touch it for 2 years, it's still going to work fine 2 years down the line. Acoustic piano, if you don't touch it for 2 years, tuning's probably going to have gone. It's affected by temperature changes, climate changes, humidity, all these kind of things. Now, how much is an acoustic piano to get tuned? Not a huge amount of money. Acoustic piano tuners are quite a rare breed. There's not that many of them about. It's a bit of a dying art, to be honest. But a piano tuner will charge you typically 60, 70, 80 quid, maybe 50 if you're lucky, that kind of ballpark range to tune a piano. Someone's charging more than that they're starting to get perhaps on the little bit more expensive side, or perhaps it's because there's something else that needs doing. It's not just a tune. There might be a mechanism that needs fixing in some way. It might be a hammer action that needs improving or whatever. There's all kinds of things that can go wrong that can mean you get a bigger bill than that, but the actual tuning part, 50 to 80 quid, that's probably a kind of current ballpark. But an electric piano, you don't need a tuner, all right? However, for an electric piano or a keyboard, you might have had to pay more to get it in the first place. Okay, so that's one potential concern. Depends what you want. I mean, you can spend anything from 50 quid to tens of thousands of pounds on an electric keyboard if you want. But once you've got it, it doesn't need a tuner. All right, so that's something to consider. In terms of what can go wrong with an electric piano or keyboard, it's common so underneath the keys on an electric keyboard, there are some sort of pads, sensors that detect which key's being pressed and how hard. And some of them can be made just from sort of plastic, and they can crack with age. So it's really common for an electric keyboard or piano to, over, say, between 5, 6, 7 years, that kind of range, for the sensors underneath the keys to start to crack. Okay, and you can't see it happen. You can tell that it's starting to happen. Maybe if you're a beginner, you might not notice, but an experienced piano player would certainly notice. On an electric keyboard or piano, if the pads of the sensors underneath the keys have started to crack, the giveaway sign is that you lose. Remember I was talking earlier about touch sensitivity? The harder you hit the key, the louder it gets. If the sensors underneath a keyboard key have started to crack, suddenly, without warning, a note will be violently loud, even if you didn't press it very hard. A note will suddenly, like really loud, compared to the other notes around it. And that is a nightmare if you're playing one of those in a venue, because there is absolutely nothing you can do about it, and you never know when it's going to happen. And the more it starts to happen, the more it really needs looking at. The repair costs, the parts to replace that, are very, 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 very cheap, like pence or a pound or two. But the labour that's involved to repair one can be quite expensive, because on an electric keyboard they have to take the whole keyboard out, lift all the keys out, go underneath, find the one that's cracked and replace that. So what commonly people do is they will commonly wait until a few notes have started to have that kind of symptom and get them all done at once. But in the meantime, you've got to put up with this kind of random volume changes. So pros and cons over the maintenance and the costs of an acoustic versus electric keyboard. Something to be weighed up. And of course, the other thing is space. So acoustic pianos, this is what you call an upright piano. If you've probably seen like baby grand pianos or grand pianos, they're the ones that go out in a sort of a big D away from the person who's playing. They take up a lot of space. Acoustic upright pianos are the kind of the smallest way you're going to get an acoustic, a real piano in your house. These are really, really heavy, don't try and move this with anything less than like 3 or 4 people unless you really know what you're doing. Seeing piano removal experts, specialists at work is incredible. They make it look very easy. It's not. They weigh a ton. They're brass and iron and wood and all these kind of things. So a space constraint can be one of the main deciding features between an acoustic or electric. You just get an electric keyboard, then it's really just the sort of size of the keys itself plus a little bit in a body. So they take up far less space. They're lighter, and so if you need to, in wherever you're living, you can put it away almost, in that you can sometimes stand it up on its end in a case down the side of something if you really needed the space. And keyboard stands, those kind of X-shaped stands, they can be folded. So if you have an electric keyboard, you've kind of got way more flexibility in terms of how much space and storage is needed. But then when you have an electric keyboard, you may need some additional pieces of equipment. So some electric keyboards will have speakers in the body of the keyboard, so you can hear the sound. Whereas some keyboards, particularly things called stage pianos are electric pianos that are usually designed to be plugged into PAs. So they don't have speakers in them, so be careful. You might be buying a keyboard that you can't hear. That's ridiculous, says someone on the internet right now. Well, it's just because you need to plug it into something else. So you can get a keyboard amp or some kind of small PA system, but if you're just in the house, probably a little keyboard amp that just looks like a little guitar amp or speaker that can perhaps sit down at your feet. So you might need a cable to connect the electric keyboard to the speaker, a stand for the keyboard to sit on. So you start needing some kind of peripheral accessories with an electric keyboard, which of course for an acoustic piano, you don't. You hit it, it's on, it's done. So there are pros and cons depending on which road you want to go down about whether you want to buy an acoustic piano or an electric piano. How are we going? We've still got some people watching. That's really good. I still don't know where the comments are, but never mind. This is one of the other questions I've just sort of touched upon. Where are the speakers in an electric keyboard? And this is not just a case of do you need an extra keyboard amp. One really neat tip I'll give you if you're thinking about buying an electric piano, but it's something that's a bit more like it's furniture. So if I talk about an electric keyboard, I'm sort of talking about just like a black box that sits on a foldable stand. Whereas if I'm talking about electric piano, it might to all intents and purposes look pretty similar to an upright piano, but it's electric. One of the things to watch out for if you're buying an electric piano, something that's a little bit more expensive, it's like a bit of furniture, looks a bit more like an acoustic piano, is where the speakers are. Now, if the speakers are on the top of the body, as some manufacturers do, I think some Casios do that maybe, the sound obviously is going to go straight up. And this is, by the way, a bit of personal taste. This is kind of like, do you prefer a Ford or a Peugeot or whatever car? So there's a bit of personal taste involved. I can only give you the benefit of what I've sort of picked up over the years. If the speakers are on the top of a body of an electric piano and the sound goes up, in my personal opinion, the sound kind of really disappears into the room and can often sound not as doesn't quite sound as full or as punchy. It's not got as much weight behind the sound. Now, some piano players don't want loads of weight behind the sound. I am the kind of person who's always liked a bit of weight behind the sound of the piano, particularly at the bottom end, because that's what acoustic pianos tend to have. They've got a much bigger sound at this bottom end than this thinner sound at the top. So I want something that has a bit of weight at the bottom. Roland's are really good at this. Someone should give me a Roland endorsement. I've sold Rolands to loads of people over the years, and I've bought loads of Rolands. So if you're buying an electric piano and the speakers are on the top, sound disappears. But on some electric pianos, particularly on some Rolands, the speakers are, I can't show you in here, but I can show you, imagine where it is under here. The speakers are under the body here and they're pointing downwards. Okay, now that immediately sends obviously the sound towards the floor, and I think it fills the sound out a bit more realistically. Now, as I say, that's personal taste, but I'm telling you, that's what happens. Particularly if you imagine under here, this bit of wood that goes along the back of a piano. So on some electric pianos, the bit of wood that's under here, that's down towards the floor, has a gap in it, as like a strip. of air, space, air. So there's a strip, a gap in this bit of wood. Now, if the speakers are pointing downwards and there's a gap there, then the sound can, again, disappear a little bit. It's not as bad as if the speakers are on the top and the sound goes up. Personal taste, not as bad. But the best, if you're going to go through the trouble of buying an electric piano that, it's a bit of furniture, it's got a bit of wood, looks more like an acoustic piano, it's bigger than an electric keyboard, then ideally you want speakers underneath, pointing down, and no gap in that back bit of wood, because then you create this sort of cave for the sound to go into. And I personally think that it really fills the sound out. And a lot of Roland electric pianos have that. So it's a little tip. Watch where the speakers are. Right then. I hope that has really helped you. I said that if you watched until the end, I would give you a special offer. So here we go. Are you someone who has always wanted to play the piano? There are millions of you, because most of you have told me at some point. So I'm currently putting together a beta group for a beginner piano legend course. I want to take as many people as possible from not being able to play the piano to having some basic skills that they can find their way around the piano. They can play some chords, begin to play some songs, be playing with two hands, develop a little bit of technique to get them started, some nice form, and make sure you're not having any bad habits from the beginning. And we're going to do this in September over a 7-week period. I know very commonly when people talk about courses and lessons, they're talking about huge numbers of lessons over years. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to make you a master piano player in 7 weeks, but I'm going to get you started, and I'm going to give you some skills that even if you never take another lesson again, you're up and running and you can use it over and over and over again. I'm going to show you some tricks, techniques, practice skills that you can use, and some chord sequences that you can use to play hundreds of songs. And I'm going to give the people who are part of this beta group direct access to me in a private group for 7 weeks, because I want the people involved to give their feedback and be involved in the crafting of this course. The course for the beta group over this 7 weeks, so there's going to be a weekly masterclass every week for 7 weeks. You don't have to watch them live, you can watch them on replay. You get asked to give you feedback so I can make sure it's perfect for people who've always wanted to play the piano. Whether you played when you were younger or not and it went to the wayside, or whether you've never touched it. But the people involved in this group are going to be able to help craft this course so I know it's exactly what people like you need. The 7-week course, when it launches publicly in January and I start promoting it, is going to be £79. The beta group people can have it now for just £29. £29 for 7 masterclasses, Q&A sessions, direct access to me. I give you a resource pack with exercises in, chord charts, loads of beginner information that you can use over and over again when the course is over. And it starts in the middle of September, and I'm accepting people into the beta group right now. If you want to be part of this beta group, you think, do you know what it is? I've always wanted to play the piano, but something has stopped me. Then what I need you to do right now is comment below or email hello@markdeeksmusic.com. Comment below, say, I want in. I want in to the beta group for the beginner piano legend course for 29 quid rather than 79 that it's going to be in January. And I'll give you 7 masterclasses. You can ask as many questions as you like of me in the private group for 7 weeks. I'll give you the resource pack that you can use when the course is finished. And you can be involved in crafting this course to make sure it's exactly what you want. So, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to give the page a like if you haven't already. Do me a favor, share this video. You know there's someone in your life who wants to play piano but isn't sure how to go about it, and certainly isn't sure where to go or how to start beginning to buy a piano or a keyboard. Share this video, tag them in this video so they can see it. One more thing. How much should you spend? It's a terrible question to answer, but I have to have a go. If you were to spend somewhere in the region of £100 to £300, you would be able to buy an electric keyboard that would certainly sort you out for the foreseeable future. until you decide you're a bit more serious about it. That might be that you get something secondhand, but you could get a small 61 note keyboard for a couple £100 that would last you for years potentially. If you start getting into the range of £500 or £600, now you're able to buy yourself something pretty nice that's probably going to last most of you for a lifetime. If you start getting into the four figures, now you're starting to get into semi-pro or pro territory. But you don't need to spend that. If we talk about acoustic pianos, now then, sadly, people give these away for nothing every day. You go on Gumtree, you go on Facebook Marketplace, go anywhere, you will find people going free to a good home, just pay to get it moved. Pianos that are free. Breaks me heart, but it's true. So, if you really want to have a go and you've got the space for it, get yourself an acoustic piano. All you'll do is you'll pay for the removal costs. How much should you pay for piano removal costs? I'm giving you every tip today. Piano removal costs will tend to be £100 to £300, depending on how far you're moving it. Don't try and do it yourself. They're a nightmare. Then you'll need to get someone to tune it, but don't get it tuned straight away after it's moved into the new location. Give it 4 or 5 weeks, then contact a tuner, get one booked in, and the tuning itself will probably just be 50 to 80 quid, like I said before, unless it needs something more significant done. If you're, I want to make this one more offer to you and I'll let you go. If there's something that you want to buy, electric keyboard, piano, acoustic piano, and you're not sure and you don't know anyone who's got a bit of an experience to say, yeah, I would, or no, I wouldn't, send me a message. Send me a message on the page. I'll help you out. hello@markdeeksmusic.com is the email address as well if you want. I'm totally happy. Send me model links, send me pictures, anything like, and I'll tell you what I think. All right? Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. These videos that are free, tips about piano playing and keyboard playing, are every Monday at 4 o'clock. I'll see you soon. Cheers.